Hello everyone, in this video I'll give you this AI automation toolkit which will completely automate the process of creating and posting faceless videos like this to TikTok, to YouTube, and to Instagram, which drives millions of views on these platforms, building you a following that you can eventually monetize, same as these channels. And with this automation, it can run daily without any human intervention, creating and posting those videos in the background, complete with music and animation. Here's an example. So everything you saw in that video was completely handled by this AI automation, including the writing of the image prompts, the generation of those images based on those prompts, the animation of the video based on those images, the sequencing of those clips to merge them into one, the addition of background music, and even the posting of your video complete with captions and hashtags. And the great thing is you only have to set it up once, and you can even upload the automation blueprint that I'll provide so that you can instantly set up this workflow with as little effort as possible. So this toolkit is structured in 3 parts, which actually mirrors the real world if you were managing a social media channel, except instead of paid agencies, you are using AI agencies. So I'll just walk through this very quickly and then we'll dive into the automation itself. So in this framework, you function as sort of like the CEO to the whole thing, where you set the direction basically at the beginning to provide a brief to the ideas agency. In this case, we'll be using ChatGPT, who will generate the video prompt based on the niche that we selected and output them to a Google Sheet template like this one. This Google Sheet template is now passed on to the production agency, which takes in the video prompts and other details from that Google spreadsheet and generates the final video like this one, which will now be passed on to the publishing agency that handles the scheduling to all the social channels that we want to post it in at the frequency that we need. And to help make it easier, I've made all the resources and instructions and the blueprint as well as all the prompts available here in our community, which you can just find in the video link in the description, so that you can literally just download the blueprint here and upload that automation to make.com, same as what I showed earlier, and it will be almost ready to go. So in this community, you'll find a lot more other lessons just like this one, all with the blueprints and templates available within each, which should be really helpful as you learn about AI and automation that seems to be becoming more essential day by day. It's also a growing community, so we have 320 plus members now, and you can see here there's a lot of people discussing about AI as well as helping each other out. And if in case you have any issues with this automation, I go in here daily to help troubleshoot any issues and just overall share learnings as we go through this journey together. So check that out if you are keen. All right, let's dive in. So the very first step is for us to set up our ideas agency. And the way you do that is basically by going to ChatGPT and asking it for video prompts in our niche. Now, to make it easier, I provided this prompt with the right template, which you can just copy paste, all available in our community. And just to go through it quickly, it's basically a brief around outputting a table format of video prompts. Here we just define the columns that we will need. And here at the bottom is where you can tweak some of the settings, such as how many videos I need. For this case, we will just do 10. Some specs around the number of words for each prompt. And for this video niche, we will take in the example of the female Disney characters in 80s Panavision style. You can also include some select keywords to always appear in prompts and provide some guidance around the appearance, the setting, the posts, and other technical details. This one is completely optional, but you can provide ChatGPT with an example of a good video prompt so that you can guide it even better. So if I just copy that into ChatGPT, you can see immediately it will give me that table format that I requested and is now creating those prompts, which is necessary for me to take it into the next step. So once ChatGPT has finished generating, you can just copy those in and paste it to Google Sheets. And what I have here basically is a template with the columns that we will need. This is also available in our community, by the way. So if you click on that template, you can just click on File, make a copy, and it will create a copy of this template in your own Google Drive. And I'll explain these columns as we go through the automation, but what's important right now is that you have content here that provides you with the title and caption of the video, and most importantly, these prompts that we will be using in our automation. And we're starting with 10 just now for the sake of illustration, but if you want to do like 30 or even 50 for 50 days worth of content, then that is an option for you as well. And there, that is the ideas agency now done. So for the production agency, the first thing you want to do is to go to make.com through the link in the description if in case you don't have an account there yet, and just click on Get Started Free. And once you log into your dashboard, just click on Create a New Scenario. And if in case you have access to the blueprint in the community, just click on the More under the ellipsis and Import Blueprint. And then you can choose the file that is provided there. And if you click on Save, that will set up most of the automation already for you, which is great. But for this video, I'll show you how to create it from scratch, since it is a good learning experience and also helps with your own self-serve troubleshooting if needed. So the very first thing that you want to set up is to find the Google Sheets module and find the Search Rows function. If in case you don't have the connection set up, just click on Add, and that will provide a pop-up for you to set up Google Sheets, which is true for all the modules here. You can just find the spreadsheet that you use as a template, select the relevant sheet, and then for the filter, you want to get the production status being equal to do, and then get the limit as 1. What that will basically do is get the very first row in our template that has a production status of to do and output the values here. The next thing you want to do is to add in a router module, which should set us up for creating 3 videos in just a bit. So you would want to click on the plus icon here to create that third module, but we will get through that in just a moment. So the great thing here is we just set up one branch and then we can just copy it to the second and third to save us a lot of time. So we'll do that right now. To set up one branch, you want to find the Make a Request module here and then set it up as follows. The URL will be this one, which will be a service that we will get through in just a bit. For the method, have it as post. For the headers, you would want to pass in what's called an API key. So you can just type in X API key there. And for the value, I will show you how to get that in a bit. Body type can be set as raw. Content type can be set as JSON. And then for the request content, you can pass on this information as it is written. So for you to map this prompt and have this green cell appear, you can just have your mouse over here and find in the prompt A in your Google Sheet template, and then click parse response as yes. Now for all of this to work, you do need the API key. And for you to get that, just head on over to pyapi.ai. It's basically a service that integrates a lot of AI tools into one. And if you click on Workspace, it will ask you to sign up, which you can just follow the process to. And under Settings, under API Keys, this is where you will be provided your API key, which you can just copy over to the value here. So just click OK. Look at the complete automation here. Basically, this first branch that we're setting up, what you actually just set up is passing on that prompt to PyAPI's text-to-image service powered by Flux so that you will be able to generate your image. So if we complete these 3 modules here, then by the end of it, you'll be able to see the first image that you were able to generate. So if we go back, you just want to add in a sleep module here, which is a much easier way for you to just wait for the generation of the picture to appear. And you can just set it at an appropriate delay. For myself, I found 60 seconds would be more than enough. And to complete the request for images, you just add in another Make a Request module, pass in the same URL, but this time the method would be get. But for the header, you would want to add in your X API key as well. Please pay attention to the capitalization as well as the spacing there. And then add in your API key in there as well. And then parse response as yes, and then click OK. So now if I run this, you will see that if you click on this magnifying glass icon, the output of the Google Sheets module just provided you with the details of that row that it got in our template. And for this module, it is basically a request to PyAPI or to Flux, where if you can see the output, if the code here is 200, that means it's successful. And if you unbundle this further, you can find that we are using the Flux dev model, and we have passed on this prompt to it of Belle from Beauty and the Beast. So we encountered our first error here, which is actually expected, because to make this work, you would want to enrich or extend this URL with the task ID that is provided to you when you made this request. So if you click here, this module's attributes should now show a lot more details. And if you click the data drop-down, you will find now the task ID there, which appeared because we were able to run this module at least once. So that's going to be a common theme across this tutorial, where you first have to run that module in order for Make to get the structure that you would need. So just click that and click OK. And now if you run this again, you will now see that it has completed. And if I click on this magnifying glass, the output should say status code 200. And if I just unbundle that data attribute and just look for the output, you'll find here the image URL, which if you post on your browser, you will see the generated image. So that is looking good. So now this whole automation would be our image generation phase. The next thing you want to set up is to animate that image to a video. So to do that, you would want another make a request module, but to make it easier, you can just copy or clone this module and drag it here, and it will automatically link. And just for the sake of formatting, you can just put it here. And if I open that, you can see everything that we just set up is retained, which is great. But for the request content, you would now change this to something like this. So just to quickly take you through it, you need to type this out in full, or maybe take a screenshot of this and ask ChatGPT to write it for you. You can see the model that we're now going to use is Kling, which is an image to video tool. The task type is video generation. For the input, you would want the prompt to be Action A, which is coming from the Google Sheet again, which if you go back to our Google Sheet, it's basically just a short prompt that would tell Kling what the action is of the character. In this case, she will glance around, then smile. You have a negative prompt here, which you can just play around with. CFG scale is how adherent it will be to the prompt that you gave. So 1 would be the max. Duration is either 5 or 10 seconds. For the mode, it is either Pro or Standard. And then for the image URL, you now want to make sure that this is mapped correctly to the previous module under Data, Output, and find image URL there. So that is the exact URL that we just viewed earlier. You can play around with some of these other stuff, but they're not really that essential. So just click OK. And then same thing, you would want to add a sleep function, because that previous module will just create a request for Kling to create the video, but the sleep module is there so that you can wait for the video to generate. So to be safe, I put this in as 300 or 5 minutes, but try it out if you can manage to do less to be more efficient. Now, before you set up the succeeding module, you would want to run this module at least once so that you can get the structure behind it, because we'll be using it for the future modules here. And to do that without having to rerun the whole scenario, just click on Run this module only, and then it will just provide you some fields around some of the dynamic attributes here. So here, just type in whatever, say looks at camera, and then for the image URL, just put in any image URL really, but you can put in the one that was provided to you when you tested earlier. And when you click OK, when it says status code 200, that should provide you the fact that it was successful. And most importantly, you will now get this data attributes and this task ID, which is important for you to set up the last step. So now you would basically get the video that it is generating through another GET request. And for that, you can just copy the one you already made earlier, paste that in, connect that. And then if you open it, you can see that everything here has already been set up the same way you did it last time. But what's important is to change this task ID mapping into the module for image to video, which should be the latest one here. So click that and click on OK. So now if you run this whole thing, so if you've done it successfully, what you can do is check the magnifying glass here, status code 200, and if you unpack the data, status should say completed instead of processing. If it's still processing, that means the sleep timer was not enough. And you have video URL here, which again, you can just paste to your browser, and you can see the output of the image to video, and that is looking really good. So now you were able to pass on the prompt to create the image, and you were able to pass on that image to create the video. Now, just to cap that off, you just want to add in a module for Google Sheets called Update a Row. And then for this one, basically the same thing. You will want to find the template Google Sheets you were working with, find the sheet name. For the row number, you want to scroll all the way down to the very first Google Sheets template and map the row number there. And then for the values, you want to scroll and find the column called Video A, and then map the output video URL that you just viewed into that. And what that will do is basically update our Google template to put the URL of the video you just generated into this cell, which is going to be important later. So just click OK. Now, what is great about this automation is with you being able to pass on prompt A and generate the image from that and pass on that image to animate it using image to video. If you look at the full automation here, we basically just do that 3 times. So we will copy it 3 times as well. And if in case you want to do more than 3, say 5 clips in one single video, then you can just repeat this process depending on your needs. So how do you do that? So if you hold Shift and then drag, you'll be able to select all of those modules. And then if you do a right click and say copy modules, you can just paste them here and it will paste everything that you created thus far there. And if you link it to the second branch, then that would be your second component. This empty one you can just delete. So you want to repeat that as well and do that for a third module here. And again, just delete this one. And now you have 3. Now, to set up the second and third module, this is going to be much easier. What you want to do, if you click on this request text to image module, instead of passing on prompt A, you would now pass on prompt B. So to do that, just do the same thing and click on OK. And then now it will use prompt B to generate the image. And then same here. Instead of passing on action A, you would now pass on action B, which is a slightly different action entirely. And click OK. And then same for the third video. If you want to change prompt A, change that to prompt C. Then this one as well, from action A, change that to action C. And then also for Google Sheets, remember we put the video URL from our generation to this column. You now want to put it to video B. So just do a cut and paste there. Click OK. And then same for the third video. So if you cut and paste, put it in video C, and that should be okay. It's in white right now, but you can see it's actually mapping correctly. This is pointing to module 24, and it is mapping to this module 24. So that should work as intended. Click on OK. And for you to test those out, you can basically do that just by disabling the first module by doing a right click, click on disable route, and then run the automation. So if you've done that successfully, then if you go to your Google Sheets, you should now be able to see these video URLs that your automation has filled in for you. And if you paste those links to your browser, you can watch the videos that it generated. So this one's looking really good, and this one as well of Ariel. And then of course we have the first one that we generated from before. So now if you review the full automation that we are aiming for, the next step is basically to take those 3 clips and stitch them together into one final movie, which will be this segment right here. So for you to set that up, what you want to do is to get the third branch, which is something you can see here, and extend that Google Sheets module into another module for Google Sheets, specifically the search rows function. So the reason why you want to extend the third branch is because this router basically just goes from 1, 2, and 3 whenever it runs. And so when you have those 3 completed, then you would want to run this next step, which is basically the whole sequencing part of the automation. So for this one, you are doing another search rows. So to set this up, you just need to reconnect it to your spreadsheet once again and set it up the same as what you did before. But for the filter, you would want to filter for the ID and set a dynamic value all the way from the very beginning and get the ID of the very first Google Sheets module here, just to make sure you're getting the same row as before, and just set the limit as 1. So basically what you are getting is the same row, but because you now have these video URLs, you just need to rerun it so that you can get these video URLs again dynamically. So I'll just move this here to make it cleaner. And the next module that you would want to add is a Dropbox module, specifically the create/update a share link function. And basically if you go to our final automation, what this module is intended to do is to get the audio clip that is basically going to be used for your final video. So to set this up successfully, you would want to go to dropbox.com and just create a dedicated folder for your music files. And if I open that, you can see I already have a music file in here, which sounds like this. So the question is, how do you actually get and generate that music? And basically, the secret is just to go to suno.com, click on create, and then just describe here the type of music that you want. And once you click this create button, you'll be able to generate that music for free. So you can see that music came from here. And once it's generated, you can just select it, click on this ellipsis, and click on download the audio. And all that remains is for you to drop it into this music folder. Now back to make.com, you would want to just find that specific file that you have chosen. So in my case, it's within this directory, and the name of that file is 1.mp3. For the links access level, make sure it's at max access, and then you can just leave everything here as blank. So the next module that you want to do is a module and tool called JSON to video. And you would want to get the create a movie from JSON function. So JSON to video is basically the tool that we will use to stitch together our videos. And for you to get this movie JSON template, you first need to go to jasontovideo.com and then click on get your free API key so that you can sign up for an account. And once you're here, you will go to the movie templates and click on add new template. So once that template is added, click on this pencil icon to edit it. give it a proper name. In this case, it's going to be this tutorial. And the first thing you want to do is to fix the resolution and just select custom. And for the width, type in 1080 and the height will be 1920. And then under scenes, click on add a new element, click on video and click on add. And once you select that video, upload an asset under the source URL and just go ahead and upload one of the videos that you generated from earlier. So for example, here, if you do a right click and click save video as, then that will save it to your computer and you can upload it here as well. So click on save and then just set it as no, because we will resize it on our own. And if I click play, that basically plays the video for me. So to size up the video, you just want to adjust the position to center. And then for the width and height, type in 1080 and 1920 here so that it would fit the full frame of your video. For the duration, since this is 5 seconds, you will want to set it as such. What I usually just do is apply a fade out of around 0.5 seconds so that it fades to black. You will want to do that 2 more times so that you'll have the 3 videos in there. So if I just click on this plus icon, you can see that it would duplicate that. And the only other adjustments I do is for the second video, I apply a fade in of 0.5 seconds so that it fades in from black. And then for the last video, I do apply a fade in, but remove the fade out from the last one. The other setting that you want to adjust is this start area here. So for the second video, it would start at 5 seconds right after the very first video. And then the third video then would start at 10 seconds. So now you can see that the movie duration is 15 seconds, complete for the 3 videos. And the last thing you would want to add as an element is, of course, the audio. Just click on add. And for the audio, it's the same thing. You just click on source URL and upload the audio that you generated from Suno here. So I already have it here. So click on save. And the only thing that you want to adjust here is the duration, because that's around 4 minutes long, but you only need 15 seconds. So type that in here. So if you preview that, then it should play properly and you now have your template that you can use in make.com. If I make sure to save that and go back, what you would want to do now is to click on this eyeball icon and copy in this whole piece of JSON text. And if I go back here, I would just paste that in, which would basically serve as our command to JSON to video to create that movie. But to make it dynamic, what you would want to do is change the sources into the values from make. So instead of this URL in the source for video 1, you now would want video A, which is the URL from our Google Sheets. And for the second video, again, remove that URL and map it to video B. And for the last, remove that URL and map it to video C. So you now have all those videos. And the last thing you want to add is audio. So remove that fixed URL and find the download URL that you just got from the previous Dropbox module and click on OK. And then just to complete this, what you just need is this wait for a movie to render function of JSON to video. And for the project ID, map it to the project ID of that previous module. Add in a module called get a file for this URL. Map it to this URL to the generated video from the previous module. And finally, add in a Dropbox module called upload a file and select the folder where you would want your final video to be uploaded to. In my case, it would be this one. And then click on map, because for the file name, you would want to amend this slightly so that you would get the ID from the Google Sheet, which is basically the row number in our case, and then type .mp4. So that's just relevant so that you can properly map which video is which. And then for the data itself, basically this is the data from the previous get a file module, and hit OK. So to test this out, you basically just need to do 2 things. One is this Dropbox module. You would want to run it individually. And to do that, just do a right click and click on run this module only. And you can see that if you click on the magnifying glass, it will provide you with a download URL, which you just need to copy. And then the second thing you want to do is to test out this JSON to video module. So do a right click, run this module only. And you can see it is actually asking you for some of the dynamic attributes. So what you want to do is to pass those over for now. So under this download URL for the audio, just put in the one you copied from Dropbox. And then for these 3 videos, just get the ones from your Google Sheet template. So pass that over manually one by one, and then click OK. And you can see here that the request success is true. And if you go back to JSON to video and click on render logs, you should now see a new project ID that was created just now. And when it's done processing, it will actually give you an option to play it. So click on this play button. And there you go. It just created that video from scratch. So now that you have tested that out, all that's left to do is this final module for Google Sheets called Update a Row. And you just need to find again your Google Sheets template there and find the row number that corresponds to the row number of the very first Google Sheets module that you had, which is this one. And then what you want to do is to update the production status column into done, so that the next time this automation runs, it will capture the next one. So you can just move these around so that it looks similar to our automation from before. And once you have that, what you basically need to do is to just schedule it, let's say every day, and click OK. And what will happen is that every day this automation will run and it will create those videos for you automatically and put them into this Dropbox folder. And so that is actually the production agency template now completed. So for the last part of this tutorial, it will be focused around setting up the publishing agency, which basically takes all the videos that you had in that Dropbox and then schedules them to be posted to the social media channels of your choice. In the automation we showed in the beginning, you actually have the option to connect it fully so that it's just one full automation from beginning to end that creates the video and posts it automatically. But in my experience, it's actually better to separate this out so that you can control the schedule of the publishing separate from the schedule of the production, which is also important if you want to do a bit of quality control on the videos before you upload them. The good news is setting this one up is actually so much easier versus the production agency. And if you have access to our community, you can also just import the blueprint like last time. But basically, to start with, you just want to start with Google Sheets module again with a search rows function. Find our master template that we've been working with, set it up like usual, and then for the filter, you would want to get the ones where the published status is to do and the production status says done. And that basically ensures that the only ones that this publishing agents will pay attention to would be the ones where you already have a video but has not been published yet. So you can just order by row number, field type as number, and limit to 1. And click on OK. Then next, you obviously need to get the video so that you can upload it. So just find the Dropbox download the file module, click on select a file, and then for the file itself, just find it on where production agency has put it and select that one accordingly. In my case, it's this one, 1.mp4. But what you actually want to do is click on map. Instead of having a fixed value of 1, you just delete that and map it back to the ID and click on OK. And then the other thing that you would want is another Dropbox module called create, update, a share link. And then it's the same thing. Just select the file, find that same file, click on map, remove the 1, and then click on ID. And then for the access level, set it as max, and you can leave everything here as is. All right, so if you run that automation once, you'll now see that Google Sheets got the information from that row again, which is basically row 1, given it satisfied the condition that the production status is already done and the published status is still to do. And that's important because you would now need the title and caption that you would pass on to the social media channels. For Dropbox, if you unbundle the data, there's some information here, which tells me that the file has been downloaded successfully. And for this one, if you look at download URL, that basically will give you a URL to the video that you generated. So now all that's left to do is to map the specific channels that we want to add. And in this case, I will quickly show how to do it for YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok. For YouTube, you just find the upload a video module and then set up your connection by clicking on add. For the title, simply map it back to the title in your Google Sheets. For the file, you can see it automatically gets the download the file from the Dropbox module that has been set up. For video category, just select the most appropriate and privacy status would be public. And then for the description, you will want to get the caption from the Google Sheet as well. And then video is made for kids is usually no. So next would be Instagram. So click on Instagram for business and do a reel post and then just click on add to get your connection done. And then for the video URL, you just need to map it to the download URL that you've set up from before. And if you scroll down, select on caption, just map it back to the Google Sheets. And if you want to share it to your feed, just hit yes and click OK. And then last but not least would be TikTok. Now TikTok's a bit more complicated because unfortunately their API is a bit more restrictive. So what you would want to do is to do a make a request module once again here. And then for the URL, you can type in this URL, which is a tool that we can use to post to TikTok called AirShare. Have the method be post. For the header, type in authorization, taking note of that capitalization and the lack of spaces before and after the word. And then for the value, type in bearer with a capital B, space, and then you will add in an API key here, which I will show you in a bit how to get. But just to complete this, for the second item, type in content type, again paying attention to the capitalization. And for the value, type in application/JSON. For the body type, select raw, content type would be JSON, parse response as yes. And then for the request content, you just need to type in this JSON format, which is quite simple. And just make sure that this post attribute is mapped back to the title, because that's actually going to be the caption for TikTok. And then for the media URL, map it back to the download URL in Dropbox, because that is what AirShare will use to post to TikTok. Now, for you to get your API key, just head on to airshare.com, click on Get Started Now. And once you are in the dashboard, just click on the API key area and you will be able to copy your API key there, which you can just make sure to paste here right after the bearer word and click on OK. And there, if you schedule this, let's say at a regular interval of once every 3 hours, let's say, then what will happen is every 3 hours, you will take the video from Dropbox, the ones that you generated, and post it to these channels. Now, if in case you don't need any of these, then you just need to right click and click on disable, and that will actually limit the posting to just the ones that you need. So if I click on run once just to test this out, you can see that it got my video file here. It has now posted to YouTube and is now posting on Instagram. And if I go to YouTube in my test account, you can see it's been posted successfully. And also if I go to my test Instagram channel, you can also see that it's been posted successfully. So there you go. You only need to set the direction once so that your AI agents can do the work for you, providing you with the video prompt ideas, producing the videos every day, and then publishing those videos straight to your social channels in the frequency that you want. And you just need to set it up once and it will run autonomously for you in the background. So if you learned something new from this video, please give a like and subscribe. It helps us a lot. And if you're interested in all of those templates, as well as other lessons to kickstart your AI automation journey, just click the link in the video description and you will be taken straight to the community, which you can join and start interacting with the rest of our members who are also as passionate on AI as you are. Till next time, thank you.